Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Star Trekking with Nerdy Up North. I am one of your hosts, Captain Goodwill, and I am joined, as ever, by Science Officer Synoiz. Hello there, Synoiz.
Hello, I am totally not a changeling. I'd just like to confirm that right now.
Sounds a bit. It sounds a bit suspicious. Did he use a
Mate.
contraction? Anyone? I don't know. Yes.
Hello,
Yes.
hello. How are we all doing?
Yeah.
Hope
Well,
everyone is lovely.
I'm, I'm all right. I've had a few days off. I've
Hmm.
recharged. I've introduced some mood lighting into the boudoir, the ready room, as we'll start to call it, because it was looking a bit flat. So I thought I will introduce some porn lighting into the
What is
to
that, by the way? What is the thing on the tripod? Is that like I don't know if people can see that, but it's like, is it
This is
just
a
a
light.
light?
It's a light.
Oh, is it those
Yes.
LED things?
It's it's an LED studio light.
Oh my God, it is so fancy. Oh, it is
It's
so high
so
tech.
fancy. It because I used to work in TV. If no one ever knows, that's why I look so professional. But look, ooh,
Poor fish.
oh yes, it is my little tiny studio lights that you can either have on a little tripod or mount onto a camera, and
Yeah,
then you've got remote lighting wherever you go, so no one is
that's really
in the
good.
dark. Yes, I'm a consummate professional now. I worked for the BBC, don't you know? Um, so yes, I invested in some nice lights. I will as I get more money, I may get more stuff.
Well,
Um,
what if it's just more lights and then you end up with this like crazy sort of like it looks like a rap video background and you just go, this is entirely unnecessary, but it's just upscaled
well,
massively.
it's one of those great where they're not fancy LEDs where you can change them. I do have gels. Can
What?
you see? So ooh, look at that. He's gone blue.
Oh my
He's
God.
gone blue. And then if I'm talking to the prophets, I can go yellow.
Yeah, that's
Um,
it. And it's
and
just
then
random people in your house saying random things to you.
if it's like one of my
Whoever's
Japanese
on set on
animes,
that day.
if it's like a Japanese anime, I can just censor. So look,
Yeah. Only the titties.
only
Only the
the,
titties and the pee-pee. They're the only things that get censored.
but then you can change the color and go ooh ah ooh. So very old school, but
Yeah.
bit of moonlighting nonetheless. I will be upgrading my camera, everybody.
Mm.
So you will see me in at least 1080p. So I best get a moisturizing regime underway now, so you don't see all my wrinkles and yeah, everything. So, but no, how has your week been, Synoiz?
Well, my week has been really good, to be fair, because I've barely been in my actual job. I haven't been doing any drag. We got the latest Snatch Talk episode out, which was brilliant. Well, the final one, that's all out and stuff, and that was a lot of work, but we got it done.
Link in the
Um,
description below, guys.
oh yeah, and then what is it? And then Wednesday, I had my first day off in about 7 weeks. Like the first sort of, you have days off, but then you have the
Mm,
days off where you've still got a deadline looming, where you have like time, but then you're
mm.
like in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, but this needs to be done. Oh, but this is the first time when I was like, no, nothing needs to be done. And obviously, me and my best mate Ian just spent like the whole day watching the Universal monster movies in preparation for the Nerdy Up North tomorrow, where the proper podcast is doing about Universal creature features. So, like, the Invisible Man, Frankenstein, Wolfman, and stuff. And we just binged them. We binged like 8 movies in a day, and we were like, "Whoa, we're so sick of Universal movies by the end."
That's
But it was great. It was really relaxing. We got takeaway in. It was wonderful. Yeah. The other thing I need to mention is that I'll mention it again at the end, but this Friday coming, so Friday the whatever the Friday is going to be. I think it's like the 14th to the 15th. We will be
14th to the
doing
15th of April.
we
Yes.
will be doing a 24-hour charity stream for St. Benedict's Hospice in Sunderland, where we will be basically taking donations. But like how Twitch streams usually work, where you pay the channel points and you get the rewards. This will be the same,
Yeah.
but with money, where you donate and you can control the stream a little bit. But we'll basically be just playing video games together for like 24 hours, just chatting on like mates. Ian is an artist. He will be drawing things throughout the whole thing. So I think what we're going to do is you can pay a certain amount of money, uh, and he'll do like a quick sketch of anything you want. So you basically say, hey, draw Krang or something from Turtles, or draw like, Picard or something. And then he'll kind of sketch it out. But you can pay more money and he'll do an actual several hour long picture. And I'll put some examples of these on the Facebook event page, but just so you can see the quality of them, because it's like, whoa, it's that thing when you've known someone for so long, you're like, I remember you being rubbish at art. Oh, you're really fucking good now. Okay, right, never mind.
Can he draw evil Keiko?
I'm sure he'd be able to. That's the thing, but that's exactly what the donations are for, where it's the idea of, can he draw it? Donate and find out. It's simply because we got some very bad news yesterday, if I'm perfectly honest, where basically our friend who has been using the services of St. Benedict's Hospice is not responding to treatment. So it is the idea of, this is the best opportunity for us to raise money for these people who have been incredibly good to her over the years. So it's that thing of using what limited ability or power I might have to try and help out a little bit, because I think it's very easy in these situations to feel a bit powerless, to feel a bit like, hey, you can't do anything from the sidelines. And so that's what this charity stream's all about. And that's why I'm being a bit annoying by mentioning it now, and then I'll mention it at the end. But yeah, so you can go to synoiz.com/Twitch, or easier to remember, thevelvetsnatch.com/Twitch, and that'll take you to this stream. I might link it to the event page for the time being, but yeah. But no, it'd be wonderful if people who are watching this, even if you're not a fan of retro video games, like, I don't know what we're going to be playing, probably I know I want to play Mega Man 2. I want to play Mega Man 2 all the way through. I want to play Silent Hill 1 all the way through. I think we're going to get a new game called Solaris or something. We're going to play through that. Yeah. We're just going to do stuff. But what you can do is you can also donate to get us to play a game. Like, it might be from a list. Like, we might be like, hey, here's our list. Choose what game we move on to. Or it might be a game, or if you pay a lot of money, we'll just buy the game and install it in the background or something. It's this. It sounds horrible, but it is just this idea of going, we need to raise money. It's this idea. We will be your Twitch
cause.
monkeys for 24 hours to do that, and that'll be happening after next week's podcast, I assume, because I think we're live on Friday, are we?
Well, we don't know yet, but we will find out if we are live or not. But if we are live, rest assured, guys, that we will tell you. I will constantly spam your Twitter feeds, which seems to be working, and I will spam the Nerdy Up North Facebook page. But this is a very, very worthy cause, guys. So please, if you are able to, even if it's just for a little while, pop into their stream on Friday, say hello, donate. Anything you can. It's a very worthy cause. I too would like to plug another worthy cause as well, since we're on it. My dearest and oldest friend, Alison, who's in the Nerdy Up North Facebook community, is doing Race for Life on the 7th of July in aid for Cancer Research UK. Those that know me know I can't run for shit because I have got the knees of a 90-year-old and I have got the lung capacity of a dead person. So she will be doing Race for Life, and she's doing it in honor of not only people that she knows, but some of my family as well, who have experienced the god-awfulness that is cancer. I've already posted on the Nerdy Up North Facebook community. If you can donate anything, that would be wonderful. I'll put everything in the description below for you guys for Synoiz's and mine's charity donations. Doesn't have to be much. Whatever you can spare, we will really appreciate that. But everything will be in the description below. But yes, I am giving you a shout out, Alison. So you are now YouTube famous. So please don't let it go to your head, because I know what you were like at school. But
hang on, I like how you've basically just chosen someone to be your champion. Effectively, it's just like, I can't do it myself. This is like, which is that episode of TNG where what is it like? Is it the Klingon one where someone picks someone to be their champion and you're like, that's totally cheating. It's like even Quark fought his own battle. Well, technically Worf did it in DS9, but
But much like
can't we just do that with her running in a hollow suite and you sort of like in the actual race being controlled?
much like Jack possessing people, I will possess her and do it in her body so my knees don't shatter into a million pieces. So, but yeah, everything will be in the description below, guys. If you can donate anything, that would be wunderbar. So thank you so much. So now that's out of the way, shall we get into this week's episode of Star Trek Picard?
Go on then, you've pulled me leg.
Oh, okay. Yes. You are so polite.
Wait, that's not my leg.
Overcame. Right.
Hashtag candle flag.
Hashtag candle flag. Let's get the movement going, guys. Hashtag candle flag. Okay, so let's get into this week's episode of Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 8, titled Surrender. So, this, overall, I absolutely love this episode. Really, really well executed, well acted. It opens up, though, with Vadic staring out into space, the dome above the captain's chair on the bridge,
which I'd never seen before. I was like, oh, there's a bit of this that you don't usually get to see. No.
They're on every ship. It was on the Enterprise D as well.
Really? This is me just being crap, but I like the idea that it looked like a star chart, though. It looked like it was sort of like, like they have in astrometrics, where it's like, oh, but I love the idea that the captain's just like, wait, where are we? What does that mean? What's this?
It's really nice. I mean, it's also because they had that in Star Trek Generations when they hot dropped the D, and then Riker just looks up after the crash and just see a shattered window and daylight. And I thought that was very. It's something that we never really see in Star Trek, and it's like, oh yeah, the bridge is like 360 degrees, so there's stuff that you probably never will see. But it opens up Vadic sparking up. Now I'm thinking she's sparking up a doobie. And I tell you why.
She is stressed.
Yeah. And she's constantly in pain. So I think this changeling loves the devil's lettuce.
Oh, you're saying that?
The devil's lettuce. Yes, that's right. Yes. So yeah, loads of little nods. I don't know, because when I rewatched this, I obviously put the headphones in, and it's the tiny little things that you notice when you've got the headphones in, like the little sound effects. There was a lot of Star Trek 09 sound effects in this tiny little scene, and throughout there was loads of little sound effects, and I was like, oh damn, when you watch it originally, like the first time, you don't notice it, but then you rewatch it and you're like, oh, that's from that film, that's from that series, and it's like the tiniest little details that they've put in. It's amazing that only so few people will like hear or pick up on and stuff like that. And I love that. I really love that. But this is so this scene is obviously Vadic is cutting off communication, cutting off lights, and she's trying to isolate. She's trying to basically trap the crew of the Titan in wherever they are. They are being slaughtered, as we see, where some of the crew, like the lights get cut off, and the communications cut off, and they're just out and out, just slaughtered by the changelings. And she's saying, cut off your ears, cut off your sight. And all this is going on, and Picard and Beverly are trying to retake the bridge from sickbay. They can't. Everything is absolutely locked out. And then after the slaughter, after all the screams that we hear,
we have to say how brutal this is as well.
Very brutal.
Like, just how horrible this scene is when you think about, like, because what's the crew capacity? Is it like 150?
Oh no, about 500.
Okay, well, it's probably about 150
but
now.
They have been moved.
After all they've been through.
Most of them were moved, weren't they, when Ro Laren came with the Intrepid? So most of them were moved off the ship, but there's still, I would say,
but then you've got to think how many of the ones that were moved are now dead, because they effectively were transported to a changeling ship.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, so it's the sort of thing of going, wow, they're going to get to the end and they'll be like, okay, you need to do 50 things each because, like, we'll have one person manning the bridge.
Oh wow, yeah. So I mean, that was like you said, that was quite harrowing to hear the screams of people
Mm.
being killed and being isolated and tortured. Well, not tortured, but just executed, basically. And Jack, it's getting to the point where Vadic just wants Jack and wants Jack to come to the bridge, and Jack's like, "I can go up there, I can go up there," and Picard and Beverly don't want him to go, and they're saying, "No,
Yeah.
basically no, because if they have you, they'll just kill us all anyway." And then we find out, like, he finally admits that he can, I want to say astral project or
Yeah.
possess.
I think possess is probably like, I think because it is like possession, because obviously it seems to be that he can know them a little bit. Like, by doing it, it's not just like a puppeteer thing. I don't know.
Because
Because
he
he can
possesses
hear
that
their thoughts
soldier,
and stuff.
doesn't he? He possesses that officer,
Yeah.
and he's walking around, and then he feels the soldier getting killed,
Yeah.
which, whew, that must be a terrifying feeling to
But
experience.
this is the thing. It's like it's really it's a fascinating concept, and I like that they don't believe him at first. Like I like I like the Beverly's just like you must be hallucinating. They're just scanning. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I was kind of wanting him to kind of demonstrate, like maybe possessing Beverly, and then sort of going, oh, okay, that's a real like demonstrating it. But
Do you possess your own
they
mum
just
though?
believe what? Pardon?
Do you possess your mum?
Oh, actually, that's a good one. Oh, your dad. Okay, cool. That is an
Well, you can't possess
interesting.
Picard. He's positronic.
We don't know that. We don't know that you can't.
Oh,
Maybe we don't know how far
oh.
Jack's power goes, but I think it was quite good. Like it was a nice little thing, and it was like a subtle sort of like like hey, I've got these powers, I can do it, and I quite liked that. Like I quite like that they had him testing it out and stuff, and I loved the bit where he possesses the soldier and sort of goes around and you see just how brutal everything is and like how there's barely anyone alive in these like lockdown corridors and stuff. I thought it definitely sets the stakes for the episode.
Yeah, because after this, we then go to the Shrike and we finally get some Deanna love. And I've seen a lot of discourse online where they say, "Oh, Marina Sirtis, she's only been in these handful of episodes. Blah blah blah. You're doing her
Mm.
wrong." Blah. But at the end of the day, guys, Marina Sirtis lives in London.
Yeah.
She has a busy schedule, and getting to LA when your family is in London,
Mm.
um, it probably would be difficult for a lot of people.
It's also the fact of like what I was going to say this later, but it's the fact of like this series has included people properly. It hasn't
Mm,
been like seasons 1 and 2 where they just go, "Hey, it's Hugh. Hey, it's
mm.
Icheb." Like, well, hey, it's Icheb. Well, it was. And it's this horrible thing of just going, don't just throw people at stuff. Like this is something where we've seen Troy enough. Like we've kind of gone like, hey, she's been hinted at. She's had a couple of things to say, but we've got everyone in their time. So we've got everyone where there was a build up to Worf, there was a build up to Geordie, there was a build up. There wasn't a build up to Data, but then they kind of went, this kind of has been the build up to Data. So we kind of got Data in like the episode before last, and then we had an episode of going, oh well, he's not quite here, he's struggling kind of thing, and then this one we also go, oh, he's struggling and stuff. But then we close out the episode by being like, oh, okay, now they're introduced. And it's the same with Troy, where it's the fact of like, as we see in this episode, Troy is going to be very important to the plot of the series, but she didn't need to be there doing nothing like fucking Raffi and Seven and who is the warrior bloke in Picard 1 and 2?
Elnor.
Elno, yeah. See, that's the effect he had on me. That's the depth of character that he had. But they're like there, and they're like, oh well, we introduced them at the beginning of the series. They've got nothing to do, so they're just standing in the background for all of this. At least this way, we go, hey, it's Troy when we need her, and being amazing. And I
It's
think that's
yeah.
a far better way of doing it than just being like, bang, here's all of the crew together from episode 1. Now, how are we going to use them all? That would have
It's
been
very
awful.
fluid.
Yeah.
I think the way they've done it, because obviously, I mean, what we have to remember is not everyone who has been in Star Trek wants to do a full-time commitment in Star Trek. They may be grateful for what Star Trek has done for them, but let's be honest, you don't want it full-time. And it's also like I said, this was very fluid. The way it was done, it gelled a lot better. They're in the cell, shall we say? They're in a cell.
Which bizarrely, the Shrike set reminds me of Farscape.
Yes,
you know this weird thing where I was looking at it being
organic,
like, what does this remind me of? This reminds me of, because obviously the first episode of Farscape starts with him in a cell and stuff, and this whole scene just reminded me of that, and I was like, oh, I need to watch Farscape again, you know.
It's quite organic, but I think the way that Deanna has been dealt with this season overall has been. I don't see the discourse with that, because, like I said, a lot of people don't want to be full time. A lot of people have family. I'm reminded of Avery Brooks when he was in DS9, when he was full time in DS9. He flew back to New Jersey every weekend from Los Angeles to be with his family, because he didn't want to uproot his children from their school. He didn't want to move or anything like that.
Yeah.
He stayed in New Jersey and he flew back so as soon as they finished on the Friday, he was in New Jersey on the Saturday, and then he flew back on the Monday. That a lot of people don't want to move to LA. A lot of people have moved away from LA since they've done this, and they're like, I'm happy where I am. So to understand why Marina Sirtis is in less than other people, it's justifiable. And I think Terry Matalis and the crew have written her in a way where it's, because, like you said, it's fluid, it's meaningful, and it's like, yeah, we've seen tidbits throughout, but now she's there, but she is there for a reason. And I'm so glad that the banter between Riker and Troy is still there. Like, they are, let's be honest, an old married couple.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he goes, I missed you, Zadie. And she's like, oh, I wish I taught you another word. And I'm just like, even she's sick of him saying Zadie.
It is great though. Like, it's what does it actually mean? Isn't it like my love or something?
My
like,
love or something like that.
Yeah, it's that thing, and she's like, okay, you've pretty much been milking this for like as long as, like, even before we
35
originally meet
years.
them. Yeah, that's it. Even before we meet them, like, that was his nickname for her, because obviously they were broken up by the time we get them in TNG. But it's just that wonderful thing of, it's really strange though, because obviously I complain about seasons 1 and 2 of Picard, and I kind of feel like it's the whole cast that gelled it. Like, you can't just take Patrick Stewart and be like, oh, now it's Next Generation or now it's Picard kind of thing. It's weird seeing this and be like, no, actually, having Riker here, having Troy here, having like Geordi and Worf, this is what makes it gel. Like, it's how good the original casting of TNG was, that all of these characters are essential in themselves. And this scene was like pretty much that, where you're just going, whoa, like Jonathan Frakes can just carry a scene. Like, and the fact is, after all I've said about Marina throughout this, like, series so far, where I'm like, oh, she can't do the voice anymore. She fucking can. Like, she was Troy throughout this entire episode. And I'm like, okay, yep, ignore everything I said. You can still do it. You're still amazing. Like, it was very much Troy, and that was wonderful.
Star Trek.
Maybe on the view screen when she was like sending in videos from London or whatever, she wasn't fully doing it. But when she's on set here, she's it's great.
Star Trek has always been about the ensemble cast. It's never been about one specific person. And I think a lot of
until Discovery. But
well, this is the thing. Like, I think a lot of pushback. Not the really bad pushback, not the ones where you just like, please go outside, speak to people. Not the really negative pushback, but the constructive feedback has been that Discovery, although it has its own merits, has never really been about the ensemble. It's been about one, maybe two or three others, where it's for Star Trek is a show that it's the crew, and you build the relationships with the crew, you build familiarity with it, and I think that's what was lacking in Discovery. And I think other series, Strange New Worlds, Lower Deck, they've done really well to build that back up, and they've learned from that. And seeing how season 1 Picard was played out compared to how season 3 is, like you can't just take Picard, like you said, plop it in and go, yeah, it's Next Generation, because the Next Generation wasn't Picard. It was a sum of multiple parts that made it the Next Generation. And this is what they've got right with season 3, where you can have these scenes with Troy and Riker in a cell, and it's like, yes, this is what Star Trek is about. Or Data and Geordi, and you go, yes, this is what it is, because they are just more. Picard does not have to be involved in every single scene to make it feel like the Next Generation. And
that's like you say, that's true with all Trek. Like it's like the crazy DS9 episodes, where it's the Ferengi episodes, where where Cisco appears for like 5 seconds, and they're like, that's it, that's Cisco for this episode. Or or the wonderful ones where you have like Dax, when you start noticing it and how they do it, where if they appear before the titles, then it means that they're probably not going to be in the rest of the episode. Like it'll literally have sort of like where it'll have like O'Brien and Bashir talking about something in Quarks, and then it's like, oh cool, this random little scene is happening because they're not in the rest of the episode, but they're there, and it's this wonderful nod to go, hey, fans of them, they're still here. And that's very much what this season is. And it's very much what the season is. So it's even the characters that don't get to do much in this one, like Shaw doesn't really have much to do in this episode, but he's still there. We're still acknowledging him, and it's a really good one. I mean, I have to say, though, this scene between Troy and Riker has one of my favorite lines. This episode is full of good one-liners. It is astonishing. Like, this is such a quotable episode, because what's the line she says? It's a very judgy foyer when they're talking about the house.
Later on in when we go back to the cell later on, I love that. There was a few good lines in that one.
I love it when it's just complaining about the house, and it's just like, it's a very judgy foyer, and you just like,
there was a few, there was a few lines in that. We'll get to that, because they talk about Thaddeus in this scene, and how it's Thaddeus. Riker left because he needed to come to terms with his grief about Thaddeus. But we'll get more into that, because it goes into more detail later on in a different scene, because we go back to the bridge. And again, one line is like Vadic in this, where she's just in the chair. She's like, this is comfy. I'm going to take this with me. And I'm just like, oh, okay, right. And I'm like, do you know what I mean? Like stuff, like tiny little things all the way through the episode.
It's the characterization. It's the fact of how, we were saying like, oh, I hope we get to see more of Vadic and stuff, and like how she kind of set herself up really well. Like Amanda Plummer had set the character up really well in those first couple of like, hints and like, a little bit of suspicious talking and stuff. And then in this one, we just go, wow, like how good this character is, like how good the character is, how well-rounded they are. Well, not, like not mentally, but it's like how like well-rounded they are as a character. And it's a joy to behold, because like Amanda Plummer is stealing the show, but then everyone is like Shaw's stealing the show, like Frakes is stealing the show. It's like,
well, this is the thing.
It's phenomenal. This scene, like, her, and we get that craziness, like, and it's so good. Like you could happily do like, like Heath Ledger's Joker, where it's this wonderful sort of craziness, but you kind of just go, could you keep this up forever? Like, if you had a series with a character that wild in it, would it grate on you after a point, kind of thing? And what we've seen with Vadic is no. Like, Vadic is done so well that we're like invested in like their sort of not struggle, but like them as a villain, and I think it's wonderful. Like, I'm happy to accept Vadic into the the amazing like pantheon of Trek villains, like We got, the female changeling. We've got Wayoon. We've got like Khan. We've got Keiko.
General
We've got,
Chan.
General Chan. We've got all of these famous villains.
I think yeah, this because last episode she was well and truly fleshed out. Excuse the pun, but she was in this episode.
Good out.
In this episode, yeah. In this episode, we get just the right amount, which is brilliant because we get those little one-liners, we get the behavior, but we also get a little bit of to and from between Shaw and Seven, where Shaw's basically say, "Why didn't you blow the turbo lift? Like I was in there, you knew they were coming. Why didn't you blow it?" And straight away, she's like, "I'm not going to do that. Consequences, I'm not going to trade life for life." And then he starts referring to her as Hanson, and she just snaps back immediately. She's like, "My name is Seven," and like now where she's like, "I will keep saying this until you say it." And she says consequences of actions, basically.
And we're seeing how you feel sorry for Seven because she still hasn't found where she belongs. Like, and obviously we saw it in one of the previous episodes with where she was talking about Voyager and realizing that was the only time that she actually felt at home or part of a family, and it's gone now. Like that time is over, and we're realizing that she's not cut out for Starfleet because what Shaw is suggesting is exactly what you should have done as a Starfleet officer. You have to be there to sacrifice others in order for the greater good, in order for to protect people. The same way that we see later in the episode where these crew people are willing to give their lives to protect everyone else. And Seven's very much like, no, take me instead and do all of this and, all of these things, but that aren't Starfleet.
Yeah.
And, and we kind of, it kind of keeps hitting like this is not the place for her. She thought it was, but then yeah, I think that's my opinion.
She's never really been Starfleet, even in Voyager. She always went against the grain.
Well, Voyager was such a unique crew. Like it was such a bizarre situation that kind of had to work together, like with the Marquis, with Starfleet, with like weird alien things that couldn't cook, and their pedo love child. I don't know. She's literally 3. I find it very uncomfortable watching Voyager, and she's like, "I'll be 2 soon," and I'm just like, "Oh Jesus Christ, oh
yeah,
this is awkward." But yeah, no, it's that thing, and that's the weird thing. It's like it kind of reminds me of school, where like at school and uni and stuff, where you have like this weird banding together of friends, where you probably wouldn't know each other outside of that situation, but then you kind of it's like that. But then when it's over, you're like, oh, right, we've all got our separate lives. We've all gone our different ways kind of thing. It feels like that. And where
that's
you're
an
still kind of
excellent
looking for
analogy.
that kind
Yeah.
of like home. And I think that's like what we've got with Seven. But it's the storytelling that allows that kind of plot and that kind of nuance to come across. Rather than just having Seven being angry and killing, shooting people or whatever, like she was in like season 1, and you're a bit like, this isn't really the character depth we wanted. Whereas now we're seeing this loneliness that also Vadic is accusing Jack Crusher of having, because Jack has exactly the same thing of not belonging anywhere. And that's what Vadic's saying to him in this scene.
Well, Vadic sends a team to go find Jack, and she goes over the intercom. She basically says he's got 10 minutes to come to the bridge, or she will start executing crew members. Down in sick bay, Jack immediately, I'm going to go. Picard and Beverly are like, no, because that's what she wants. If you go, she'll kill us, and that's it. She won't just let us go, because logic dictates that if she lets them go, they will come after her. So he says, well, where would she take me other than the Great Link? There is nowhere else other than the Great Link. And I think throughout this episode as well, we've talked about one-liners. There is also lines in this where they are deliberately put in to set the viewer's minds racing about certain topics. Now, there's another one where just after they try and stop him to go, he says to his mother and father, "I'm not a changeling. I am different, but I am not like these people. I've never changed shape. I've always been different. I think I can retake the ship. I can control people. And that's like you
Yeah,
said earlier. She's like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, he's hallucinating.
I got ahead of myself. I thought that scene was a lot earlier than it was.
It's very, and he's trying to convince him and stuff. And Sydney comes to his defense and she goes, I have witnessed this because he possessed me.
Mm.
And I like the fact, and again, this is one of the lines that I'm referencing where Picard goes to Jack, you are special, in some ways unique. Now, I
Mm.
got a lot of Locutus vibes from that
Really?
because obviously in First Contact,
Mm.
it was depicted that Picard was special. He was unique.
Mm.
He was a unique drone.
Yeah.
Um, in the collective, which was obviously not something that, but he had his own name, and it was referenced
Mm.
in an earlier episode by Shaw, where they were like, he was so unique, they gave him a name when they're
Yeah.
on about Wolf 359. And I'm like, right, okay. So this was my first inkling of like, okay, there's a bit of Borg vibe going on here.
See, the thing is, okay, one of my lovely friends who is also a massive fan of Picard, I probably mentioned them a lot on this. They obviously got to see it on Thursday through dodgy means. And they were basically talking about the episode, and they were saying, "Oh, this episode's a bit is he, isn't he?" And it's dropping loads of Borg references and stuff. And when I watched it, I was like, I didn't pick up on any of that. Like, I did not have any inkling of the Borg throughout this whole episode. But then hearing yourself and whatnot, I'm like, oh, maybe they were there, and I'm just too like ditzy to pick up on them. But it's that idea of like it's interesting that they're still not clear what it is. Like it's like what they were saying in this episode. Maybe we could interpret it as Borg. Maybe we could interpret it as like Par Wraith. I'm still a bit like because when they talk about it, they're like, oh, it's something ancient, and I'm like, are Borg
Yeah.
ancient? Technically, they are, but it's like when I think of ancient, I'm thinking more like gods or something like that. But
Well,
it's this idea of
yeah.
like it does keep us guessing, and also he said something that I don't agree with at all because he basically said, "Oh, it's a good episode, but it's a bit of a filler one. It's a bit of a like will they, won't they kind of thing." And I'm just like, "No, it's not." Having watched it now, I'm just like, oh, this is not a filler episode at all. This is like everything happens in this. Like, this is, like we haven't had a filler episode in this series. We haven't had anything that's felt like, my biggest complaint is the episode at the Fleet Museum where it feels a bit like they've tried to fit 3 episodes in one episode, like that was my biggest complaint, but we've never had anything where it's a bit like, oh god, they're just talking, like, and if you
Every
are like
episode
that,
has
then
had a
why are you watching
meaning.
Trek?
Yeah, every episode has had a purpose. It's had a meaning. There has been no filler episodes. I think they are packing each episode of the 10-episode run as much as they can, but in a way that it doesn't feel like it's overwhelming, or that it's fan service. Well, fan service, or that it's like, oh, we're just doing this to get to this. We're just doing that
Yeah.
to get to. And this I don't agree that this was a filler episode because this for me was a conclusion to a certain arc, which we'll get to later.
But it's also fair because I think to be fair, he might be coming at it where all he's interested in is what Jack is. And obviously in this, it does have a bit of sort of, oh, is he not kind of thing. But then there's so many other plot threads happening that you're like, well, if all you care about is that, then yeah, it's like, that's like,
Yeah.
oh, I just can't wait for the Dominion War to be over. It's like, you've got a bit to wait, like it's going to be a slow grow.
So Jack goes to Picard that he can, shall we say, possess people, and take
I
control.
love how it does it Abe's Odyssey style. That's what the reference I
Yeah,
wanted to make. Like I love the idea of like, because have we ever seen this in Trek? Like this ability?
pirates.
Well, we had the episode where Keiko was made slightly less evil through the use of a Par Wraith. Um, so obviously she became a bit more likable for an episode, which was great. But like, and then obviously we had like possibly the same thing happen to. I have forgotten the name of the character, and I can't just keep
Jake
calling
Sisko.
him Pedo Love Child.
Oh, Neelix.
No, not Neelix. I totally blanked on what
In
her
what
name is.
series?
In Voyager, Neelix's girlfriend in season 1 and 2.
Oh, Kess.
Kess, yeah. Why couldn't I remember that? Sorry. Kess is one of my favorite characters as well. Like, genuinely, it's this whole thing where when you hear, like, oh, well, it was either either get rid of Harry, get rid of Neelix, or get rid of Kez. And I'm like, and you got rid of Kez? What?
Yeah,
Neelix was right there. But,
them's are the facts, guys. That's what Synoiz just said. That was the decision halfway through. I think it was season 3, season 4 of Voyager. The
yeah.
producers wanted to get rid of one character to zhuzh up the ratings with Jerry Ryan, and the decision was Kess. It was Harry Kim.
It's literally the person discovering the universe who has latent psychic powers doesn't quite know how to control them. Or the guy who's a shit cook and a shit, like, ambassador. The guy who literally just goes, hello, alien race, go fuck yourselves. And you're like, hang on, he's the ambassador. Okay, right, okay, we may have done. And it just made, but I think what they were saying is it was because of like the amount of female characters, weren't they? They were kind of going like, hey, if we're going to get rid of someone, maybe it should be a girl, and then we could bring in a sexier girl, and that's how the 7 of 9 happened. In that kind of that way of, they already had Balana, they already had like
it was all about balance.
Yeah, and obviously I would have been fine with her. I'd be like, yeah, cool. The whole cast is women. Who gives a shit? It's as long as it's written well. Yeah. So it's a bit annoying because I think there was a lot of potential for Kez, and I think a lot of the hatred comes from the fact that the writers didn't know what to do with her. But anyway, yeah. But we have that episode with Kez where she gets possessed and she becomes like badass and stuff for an episode. We've never seen it done like this. We've never seen it done like, because even the Par Wraith, when that happens, it doesn't. Maybe it is like this, maybe it is the same thing as we're seeing here, but it's interesting to see it from this perspective and have it where, like we say, he possesses someone and that person gets killed, and then you can see that it actually backlashes into Jack.
Yeah.
And obviously Jack's just like, whoa, I've just witnessed someone die firsthand,
Yeah, he feels the effect because he possesses Lieutenant Matthew Arliss Muir, who is half Bajoran.
Whoa, I didn't realize you knew that. Oh, no, you're talking about it later, aren't you? I'm talking about the guy in the corridor.
Oh, yeah, the guy in the corridor was earlier.
Sorry, yeah.
But... Yeah. So we're at the sea where he's told Picard he can possess. So they say, well, every ship's got an override code that captains and above can enter if the ship is compromised, so they can take control of the ship remotely. So we see Jack possess Mura, and then you see the Mura typing on there, and Vadic's at the last minute grabs hold of the Mura's arm.
Yeah.
And he's like, how did and I also love the fact that she calls Jean-Luc Picard by the French accent, where she's like, how did you know Jean-Luc Picard? Jean-Luc Picard. And I'm like,
because nobody does.
Because nobody does, but it's like, yeah, that's how the French would. It's like Jean-Luc Picard. And I'm like, oh wow. And she,
to be fair, if they were pronouncing it in proper French, they would just ignore half the letters though.
Yeah.
It'd just be Père.
Yeah.
Père. Jean-Luc Père. He's just like, thanks, French.
So she thanks, French.
It's that thing of just being like, okay, these letters, they are not needed. Get rid of all of them,
So she goes to me, she goes, how did you know Picard's override? Oh, is that you in there, Jack? And like then we get the revelation that Vadic knows that Jack can possess people.
Yeah.
And he obviously, and I don't want to say, I'm trying to say this in the most diplomatic and less pervy way possible. He pulls out of Lieutenant Mura.
He can take it. He's Bajoran.
He disconnects.
They've been fucked for a very long time by the Cardassians, so it's a
So and he disconnects from Mura, and then she goes, right, time is up. So she puts Corvarin Esma, Ensign Corvarin Esma, onto her knees. Tells who she is and stuff like that, and then she also puts Lieutenant Mura onto the floor, and she goes, tell me who you are. I'm Lieutenant Matthew Mura. No, tell me about someone who loves you. And he's like, my son. which I thought was really good because she's like, Picard has a son, and she's like, one of you are going to die. And in a shock decision, which I am fuming about, Tavine is vaporized.
Yeah.
I liked Tavine.
I think this is the wonderful thing about this series, though. Like, these are background characters. These are characters where we haven't had too much development on them, but we've had enough. We've had enough that we're like invested in them. And obviously, we were waxing lyrical earlier about like, wouldn't it be great to have like a Titan series and then have these characters in it and stuff? And there was this fear throughout this scene, well, throughout all of the episode of going, oh my God, are we going to lose this? Could we lose Shaw? Could we lose, like, I don't know his name, the Bajoran, the Bajoran officer,
Matthew Mura.
Like, it's this thing of me just not being good enough for characters. They need to appear for like several episodes and have their name mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
But it's this idea of this investment of how good the writing is that we're like, we are invested in these characters. We don't want to see anything happen to them because we want like a spin-off. We want them to appear. And obviously it's like, we've lost our bald Vulcan. I'm upset about it. And it's very much setting the stakes of going, wow. Like, we've had so much grit this season, I guess. Like, in terms of like the despair that we had in the black hole episode. Like, it's wonderful, but it's a shame to lose her. But it's the horror of how frightening Vadic is, that she's using these horrible mental tactics on them and stuff by basically just effectively just being like, I will kill any of you, like, without warning. Like, it could be any, that is really frightening.
Because then we go to the Shrike, where we get the lovely dialogue between Riker and Deanna when it comes to confronting Riker's grief. And we find out that Troy used her mental powers to not suppress but remove the grief from Riker over losing Thaddeus. And he's basically saying, you were trying to remove my last memory of my son. And she was like, no, I was trying to suppress it. I'm trying to take the pain away from you. Where she didn't realize that what she was doing was taking away the grief that he needed to feel in order to overcome the loss of his son. Like anyone, they need time to mourn. They need time to come to terms with what has happened. And
I think this is the thing. It's very much that she was trying to help there. Like, she thought she was helping. And she was like, she thought she was helping, but actually that's why he ran away, because he needed to actually just deal with it. Because I think that's the thing about grief. We have to kind of get it out there. We have to get out there. We have to sort of like face it, and then we can kind of deal better, rather than ignoring it or doing what Troy was trying to do here of fix the solution. And that's what she says. She's kind of like, hey, I tried to skip to the end of therapy. I mean, it's the sort of thing of like when I got some incredibly bad news about my friend that the charity event is for yesterday night. It was when I was at an event and I was like, talking to a lot of people and things like that. And then I got the news and I had to take some time out just to, have a bit of a grieving moment. And the problem was that I had friends like very much trying to help, like very much trying to sort of be like, oh, do you want to talk about it and stuff? And I'm like, no, I literally just need, to go through this.
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to sort of talk about it and things like that. And I think it's that weird thing. And you have people who are trying to help, but at the same time, you're like, no, this needs to be I'm not running away from this. And I thought this was a beautiful scene and a beautiful talk about that's how she grieved. Like, he was grieving by sort of like, the loss of his son, where she was grieving by running away from it herself by helping others, by helping him deal with it. That was how she got through it. And it was that crazy, that dynamic that lovers have,
Yeah. I think the opening part of this scene was beautiful because we get that catharsis that they are actually talking about the loss of Thaddeus, and they openly, Riker, he ran away as soon as Jean-Luc called because it was the opportunity to get away from Nepenthe and Deanna,
Mm.
And she threw herself, let's be honest, threw herself into her work, which was to try and cure people of this grief.
Yeah.
But after this scene, we do get this lovely to and from about Nepenthe itself and how much they fucking hate this planet. And I love, because we mentioned this earlier, guys, in the little one-liners, where she's like, "Oh, the house was designed by retro prairie hipsters," and I'm like, "Hipsters has been referenced in Star Trek. Get in." Unfortunately, they still exist in the 25th century. But you know, like the foyer.
I
What
love
did you
it.
say about
It's
the
a
foyer?
very judgy foyer.
Very judgy foyer, and how the floor creaks. And she's like, "I miss Ractigino lattes," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I kind of want a Ractigino latte now."
Yeah.
Because it sounds lush. It sounds absolutely lush. And
I'm
like,
just glad that we have Ractigino existing in something that isn't just DS9, because it hasn't been mentioned in TNG. It doesn't get mentioned in Voyager. Like, you would have thought that in Voyager they'd have it in the replicators, but I don't think they do they?
I think though that Ractigino became a thing during DS9.
No,
So
but
that's
fairly
why,
early, like sort of like
yeah,
this.
yeah,
We're
fairly
talking like
early,
season
yeah.
2, but like before Voyager was commissioned, like
Oh,
the show. Because wasn't it
Janeway's
like
all about.
Voyager's like season 3, season 4 kind of like time that started up?
Voyager started in '95, so it was season 3
Yeah.
of DS9. But Janeway was all about the black coffee and murder, so that's absolutely fine. I don't think she had time for stylish Klingon delicacies.
And anyway, back to Tuvix.
Yeah, but yeah, so we get this lovely thing where like, well, why are we still there? You know, and this is the conclusion for me. This is the conclusion of them both getting over the loss of Thaddeus, because
Yeah.
the whole reason they moved to Nepenthe, as is explained in season 1, was because the healing properties of the planet itself would, they believed, help Thaddeus with his ailments.
Mm.
You know, unfortunately, it didn't work. So for them to still be there, it's a latch of grief. You know, it's and I know it's going to sound morbid, but it's sort of like when parents, after they've lost a child, they keep their room in pristine condition, and it's sort of like you are holding on to something that is not healthy for you. And for me, this is sort of how the Rikers were with Nepenthe. They were like, because even Riker says, "Why are we still there? You miss the city, you miss the lattes, you miss people. Why are we still there? We don't need to be there. We can now go wherever we want."
And this is the key thing. It's the fact of, it's the communication. Like, it's in relationships, people, as soon as the communication breaks down, the relationship breaks down. And that's what's happened here, where it's the idea of now they're actually chatting to each other. Now they're actually going, "Hey, actually, I fucking hate this. Can we change this?" And, you know, and then as soon as she mentions it, he's like, "Yeah, I totally agree." Like, and you just go, if you had have had this conversation earlier, if you'd been comfortable enough having this, you wouldn't have been there for so long, you know, like, and I think it's wonderful. Like, you know, in this one scene, well, these two scenes, we basically see their relationship sort of building back up, kind of thing, and it's wonderful. It's such, you know, Terry Metalis, wow, like, this is so good.
But here is another line that I picked up on from Deanna. "We have to be willing to go through that door to what's next."
Yeah. See, this is it. We'll get onto this later in the episode, I think.
Yeah, but planting the seed again.
Yeah.
Planting that seed. But then we see a changeling come to the cell. Doesn't last long because big bad Worf is right behind him, shanks the hell out of him, and then turns him into a tiny little,
That's a shanking.
Vaporizes him, and then they're like, "Worf, go to hug him," and he's like, "One's personal space should be one's own prerogative." Blah, blah, blah. And he goes into this amazing speech with Deanna, where he just goes into this really soppy stuff, and he's like, your spiritual motivation guided me. So he's like, "Is this a rescue or is this part of the torture?"
It's the zingers just keep coming, and it's so good, and it's seeing this ensemble cast, like, sort of, you know, working with each other. And it's also the fact of, like, reminding us, oh yeah, they went out, they had like this lovely love tryst in TNG, like Worf and Deanna, and like, and it doesn't get mentioned much, and then realizing, whoa, this is the first time we've seen them together for like ages, you know.
Since Nemesis, really, yeah.
But that's it. And even though we talk about like, oh, the characters have known each other, like they've had relations like between the films and what we're seeing now and stuff, it looks like Worf and Deanna just haven't. Like, you know, they haven't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
hung out. He kind of just buggered off to be an ambassador, and now, you know, he's part of Starfleet intelligence. It's like,
Well, yeah, I mean, let's because when Worf originally came on, it was like 11 years since he's seen Picard, and he like, well, think about it because Worf left after the Enterprise D got destroyed. He went to Deep Space Nine,
hmm,
and then he served at DS9, and then he became an ambassador in the Klingon Empire. He then
hmm,
went back to the E for whatever reason. They never really fully fleshed out why he went back to Starfleet
yeah,
to be in Nemesis. And then obviously he worked for Starfleet Intelligence, but these people, some of these people wouldn't have seen each other for years. I mean, yes,
yeah.
Picard saw Geordie and stuff like that, but Crusher was off for 20 years. So yeah, so I often think it like imagine seeing someone I haven't seen in years, and like yeah, I would probably come out with this great big
Yeah.
speech and stuff like that, and I'm like yeah, I sort of get it, but yeah, I love the dry humor with Worf is still better than ever
Yeah.
in this episode. But we
And
go
and
back. So we go
and
on.
I love that we're keeping this plot here of basically going, look, they were lovers at some point, and there used to be this sort of awkward kind of like, you know, love triangle between like the three of them or whatever during TNG. And it's like that. It's that wonderful thing that they're acknowledging the TNG history rather than just being like, oh well, whatever, Worf, you know, Worf's forgotten all about it, you know. Like I'm annoyed that there's not enough reference to there's not any reference to Jadzia in this series, but
Yet.
hopefully there will be. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It's hopefully there will be, but it's the fact of you know that the dedication is there, that is still something that's making, you know, like helping with Worf's decision making and whatnot is that. But yeah.
I think sooner rather than later, just a quick side before we move on to the next scene. I think sooner rather than later, we will go or they will come. So we will either go to Deep Space Nine
Mm.
or they will come to us. I think
You're
there's
you're really doubling down on this.
I
I
am I
don't
am
think we're gonna get more DS9, but I would love it, but I don't know.
I think there's going to be, even if it's just Colmini just coming back as the greatest Starfleet officer that ever existed, Miles O'Brien. You
Or his
know,
statue that we saw in Lower Decks.
I think he's overseeing Frontier Day, and someone's just said, "Oh, we've got half the fleet here." And he's just like, "Ah, Jesus,
That's it. That's Colmini done for the entire
that's it."
thing. I'd be
Colmini
like, that's
done.
enough. That's enough.
Yeah.
Like,
Or they unveil the statue of Miles O'Brien at Starfleet Academy, please, got it. So we go back to the Titan where Jack is still wanting to go to the bridge to end all this, basically. And Sydney's trying to override the command lockout, but she goes, I can't do it. It would take me a year. My father would probably take a month, but we need someone with high computing power to do it. And it's like, oh, who have we got with high computing power?
yeah.
We've got new data down in the lab. So they go to the lab where Data and Geordie is, and we get another one-liner where there's a standoff.
I love it. I love this bit so much.
And Geordie goes, 6 years ago. 6 years ago, you visited me. What gift did you bring? And he was like, I brought you a Chateau Picard that you said was dry because your taste in wine is pedestrian at best. And I'm like, does anyone like Chateau Picard
I
in
just
this
love the idea
world?
that Picard's literally his whole history is that is like family of winemakers and stuff, but they're shit at it. You know, like I joke about
Shit
Beverly being a
wine.
crap doctor, but I love the idea that Chateau de Picard is just piss. Like it's just
I mean, because that's like 2 digs so far, or 3 digs so far about Chateau Picard. I kind of want to taste it. I kind of want to try Chateau Picard. Just is it mead? Is it
it'll just
dry?
be bleach.
It'll just be
It'll just be
bleach.
toilet
Yeah.
duck. It just no one's told him. But
Yeah.
I do love it though. That is, and it's this thing. It's like it's because of how good the writing is. We're willing to accept this kind of comedy aspect to Picard. Like Worf, it's natural in this one. We've got it where it feels like a progression of Picard that they've gotten older. They've learned to love a bit more. They know they've become a bit more open and stuff. And I love that they can have this kind of rapport that they probably wouldn't have in the original series. And this is the way of adapting characters. Like rather than just being like, oh, they're totally different, like they were in seasons 1 and 2. It was very much like, oh, that's doesn't you should have built up to that. Whereas, yeah,
Yeah, but this is where they basically say we need data to take control of the ship, but in order to do that, we need to get rid of law because there is this partition still within the android body between data and law. So Picard says the most quintessential TNG thing. Can we just reverse the partition? In anything in TNG, it was either reverse the polarity or reverse the access code. So for them to say that, I'm like, oh, for God's sakes, please don't. But basically, they make the decision that in order to get data back or try and get data back, we need to remove this partition and let data and law fight it out in this shell of an android. But once we do that, there is no going back. So they start the process, and then we get what is the beginning of some terrific scenes with Brent Spiner.
And Brent Spiner.
Brent Spiner and Brent Spiner is Data Law. And we get this where we see within the android body where Data is reminiscing about his memories, and we get the cap from Sherlock Holmes and the pipe, and Law's on the other side of the partition. And you can sense the anger, the jealousy that Data had this life and had these memories that he never had, and then the partition comes down, and the feeling, I got a feeling of abandonment from Law all the way through this, because yes, he was throughout his life, he's always been abandoned, while Data got all these memories and all this love showered upon him. And then we see that Law is starting to overpower Data. And the crew are looking at it, and you can see on the screen the red is taking over. I'm currently overpowered by Law, apparently.
If there is anything that I love about Picard, like Star Trek, and one of the things you have to suspend disbelief for, is that somehow they've made a UX. They've made a display for a really, really specific scenario where you're just going like, like, why have you made it so that the blue represents Data and the red represents Law? Like, surely that would have taken hours for you to sort of make that interface.
It's
purely
the 25th
to demonstrate
century.
this thing.
It's
this thing where like, oh yeah, we've just got this screen that does this really specific thing that we're doing for 5 minutes. And you're like, I know that computers will probably be a lot faster then, and it'll probably be generated by the computer's actual AI. But I love the idea of just being like, here's a really specific graph we have,
I mean, going back to the 90s when Michael Okuda used to design them, yeah. I mean, they were all hand cut and hand done. So I'm like, hell yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's really specific graphics for Data's brain. And it's like, yeah, that's not on SharePoint. Do you know?
Yeah, that's it. It's like, start thinking, okay, Sydney spent years making this, like spent last 3 hours making this so that we can actually see the amount of data versus the amount of law. But it's a wonderful scene. And obviously, like, should we talk about this whole battle now, or should we wait until later where it actually...
Well, we only have one quick scene before we go back to Data.
Yeah,
and the quick scene is obviously the Shrike with Raffi and Worf and Riker and Troy, where they find the remains of Picard's biological shell. And they basically say, well, they didn't want the whole body. They just wanted the part of his body that had the Irumodic syndrome in his brain. And they still don't know why. So they download the data.
But didn't we get it proven that he didn't have aromatic syndrome? Aromatic syndrome, sorry.
The aromatic, yeah, the death by potpourri. The
handles like
they said it thrown it into question, and that's all we got. So I think hopefully we're going to find out next episode, because we didn't get it in this scene because they do a runner because they're discovered. And then they hop it onto the cloak shuttle. But then we go back to Data and Law, and we see the lovely, lovely Denise Crosby as Tasha Yar in the little hollow photograph that Data had treasured, which I absolutely loved. If that's all we get of Denise Crosby in this episode, in this series, I'll be pissed. But I love it because it's a beautiful little nod.
Well, my friend, when he was talking about this episode, he basically I need to, I'm going to see him later today, to be fair. But he basically said there's one amazing cameo that is wonderful, and there's one disappointing cameo where you're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And the problem is, I have a feeling that this Denise Crosby one is the disappointing one. But I don't feel that way. I'm happy with this. I think it's wonderful to get that little nod where it's going, hey, here's a little nod, rather than say, get actual Denise Crosby back and then give her one line and then kill her off.
It makes no sense to do so. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the idea of going, look, we're acknowledging her. She doesn't really fit in this actual series, but she is a part of Trek, and here you are. And I felt like it was a wonderful little cameo for her, because I think we're at the point now where you can reintroduce one character. Obviously Keiko when she's revealed, but you have enough episodes left to reveal one more cameo, and then we're like, that's our lot, but we're happy with our lot because we've had some wonderful things.
I think we're going to see a lot more. I do think we're going to see. I mean,
I don't know. Yes, the writing might be perfect, but I'd be annoyed if they went like last episode, like, oh look, it's Janeway. Oh look, it's like it's Tuvok. Yeah. Well, we've seen Tuvok, but like, oh look, it's like O'Brien and stuff. I don't know. I don't think there's a way narratively to do that justice, when I think the final 2 episodes are going to have to be
2 episodes, yeah.
The plot, like,
if it fits,
you don't introduce a character in the 3rd act. Of a film.
If it fits, it fits. But with Frontier Day coming up and the entire fleet being there, they may, but I think they've done really well with, like we mentioned earlier, they've done perfectly well gelling references of characters and introductions of legacy characters into the show really well without it being shoehorned. So we'll wait and see on that, because we go back. Obviously, we see the lovely little hollow photo of Tasha Yar, and then we see that Vadic is about to execute someone else on the bridge, and then Jack walks on. And he's like, I didn't think you were going to come. He's like, oh, my mother taught me better manners than that. Like, yes. And then he pulls out a mysterious
no medical knowledge, of course, but
no medical knowledge. No, but he is a doctor. Doctors without degrees.
See, that's the thing. Well, we're talking about like the charity thing that got set up in the previous seasons and stuff, that like in Enterprise and whatnot. And then we're seeing like that's what actually Crusher set up. Doctors without degrees.
Doctors without degrees. But he pulls out the grenade and he basically says, if you want me, you're going to have to let them all go. So Vadic locks all.
Well, we don't know. This is the hilarious thing, and it comes around later, that it does the computer being like, unknown device detected, and we assume it's a grenade. Vadic assumes it's a grenade, but the voiceover just goes, unknown device, and you're like, they have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a plot device in the capacity of, surely Vadic would. Like, surely there's how do they not know what this is? But it works for the episode,
But
we're pretty certain it's a grenade. Like, the way he uses it and the way that she looks at it and stuff,
Yeah. So she locks the crew into the observation lounge, and 7 of 9 goes, nah, fuck this. And Shaw goes, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm accepting the consequences of my actions. And I'm like, oh, damn. And then we get another fitting line where Vadic goes, how fitting it is for you to stay and witness this. Resistance is futile, Synoiz. Resistance is futile.
Maybe.
Also, I could tell you that the exact time that this happened was 4 a.m. because when I had my surround sound headphones on, we get the Undiscovered Country chimes. And I'm like, oh, so it's 4 a.m. somewhere, and it's here. Sorry. So anyway, so Jack wants to know, basically, he's like, okay, so who am I? What am I? And Vadic alludes, and she's like vague and stuff like that. And she's like, and again, hearing the voices, like all the loneliness and the isolation.
Yeah.
Now that you are hearing the voices, how does it feel? And then she goes, do you want to look behind the red door?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit. Oh, she know. She know. Because even Seven's like, what's she talking about?
It's so weird though, because it's like, if it is something that isn't related to the changelings, and if the actual main purpose behind him isn't anything to do with changelings, and it's like par wraiths or it's Borg or something like that, how would Vadic know this? And that's the really intriguing thing, because we've got the impression that Vadic is just an agent of the big bad. And you just go, why would you give her that knowledge of it? Which makes me think that maybe it is related to changelings and that she's experienced it herself in a way. I don't know.
Potentially, or she's being told that he's a high value target and to not take him in dead.
Yeah, that's it. Or maybe just like, hey, mention this to him and that'll get him on your side, like kind of thing. It could be anything like that. But I love the, how this opens him up and he just goes like, whoa, I was not expecting you to know about that.
Yeah, but as this is playing out on the bridge, we are down in the lab with Data and Law constantly fighting. We see more references to Data's life where he's playing poker with his friends.
Yeah, well, he's got a tricorder. He's playing poker.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously another good cameo. Well, not the same cameo, but
Spot.
It's Spot.
Spot.
The most difficult cast member on Next Gen, so I hear.
Well, there was two, wasn't there? There was a female and a male Spot.
Was there?
That they used, yeah. It changed halfway through. It changed partway through the series, where they got another cat, and it was like, I think it went from female Spot to male Spot, or something, or the other way around. But we see that Law, the crew can see that Law is destroying and overriding Data's program.
Yeah.
We can see that it looks like the Data is giving up. And then when he's going on about Spot, like Spot represents everything that I feel, basically. Spot made me a better person. And then when he gives Spot, Data goes, and then the whole LCARS display glows red, and they just basically think, well, that's it. Law has won. Data is gone for the third time. Data is gone. And then he doesn't. Yeah. He comes back.
I mean, it's a sort of thing where we knew this was kind of going to happen. We knew that, obviously we weren't expecting Data to lose, but I think it's done in like when it first happened, I was like, oh, it's a bit cheesy. Oh, it's a bit like, oh, of course, Data wins through the power of X, but how did he know that was going to work?
Yeah,
like as a tactic, because obviously his explanation is that like he defines himself through his memories, and that's what makes him who he is. Like his experience make him who he is, and by Law taking on all of these as trophies and taking them from him, he has become Data. So effectively Data has taken him over.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that like these things do not mean nothing to Law. They are not like trinkets to Law like he describes them. They're actually things to be like hallowed, like sort of because they mean so much to Data, and Law's had none of that. Because the analogy I'll make here is like, I don't know if you know people, but like people. Okay, that was a worse place for an Oxford.
I am real, guys. I know there's a popular misconception that I'm some sort of AI. I am real. Just
you do exist. You do actually exist. Which I've proven
lick
this now.
Me. Okay.
No. Everyone, you have to lick Goodwill to make sure
I am not
real
a Tootsie Pop. I am not a gobstopper.
Nerdfest, lick Goodwill. Okay. don't lick Goodwill.
But yeah, you were saying.
No, but it's this idea when you like people, where you have people who don't have friends, and it's the scariest thing in the entire world when you just go. Like we have it where you have people who have a small amount of friends. They have like sort of about like 3 or 4 really, really tightly knit friends who, and that's all they need. You have people like me who know fuck tons of people, and like, I go, whoa, I know all these people, and I have to like rush between them, and like The Sims where it's like, oh, you need to catch up with this person and stuff, to maintain like friendships. It feels a bit like that.
Your friend is in the pool with no stairs. Oh shit.
not for much longer. Now they're a gravestone in my garden. The amount of sim genocide I've committed over the years just to get a graveyard.
You dead Section 31 agent.
but like the idea, oh god, I'm gonna imagine if like AI takes over and like suddenly we go to jail for like game crimes or something. Like every person you killed in a video game, you're like, oh god, The Sims alone, I'm technically Hitler.
But
But yes, anyway. But no, like, but when you meet people who genuinely don't have friends, where they might have one or two people that they chat to, but like they don't socialize, they don't like, you know, like that, those old men that go to the pub and they just sit there on their own for like 8 hours and they complain about everything, and they actually draw pleasure from people suffering. Because I knew someone who was like a flatmate years ago, and whenever anything bad happened to someone, so a couple broke up, or someone like got hurt or something, they would genuinely enjoy it. They would take pleasure out of it, and they would have a laugh about it, and they would, they weren't putting it on to be edgy or whatever. They genuinely were like, oh, this makes me happy that you are suffering. And it's terrifying when you meet people like that. And then seeing how Law is that. Like, Law's, the fact that Law was given such a shit father who basically just ignored him, who basically just said, oh, we'll just throw him out in the world. Oh, he doesn't know how to do anything. Oh, we haven't really taught him how to do anything. We just kind of let him go out. Oh, he's pissed loads of people off because he has no social sort of skills, or he's too hyper social skills. And now they're sort of, they got burning torches at the door kind of thing, like, wanting to get him dismantled. That's Law's history. Law was never given that opportunity to be like, to be like Data and be sort of considered and loved and whatnot.
Well, that's why he says
but
earlier in the
seeing that
episode,
he's become that, where he's taking pleasure from Data's suffering, and it's kind of being fixed by Data sharing happy memories or going like, hey, look, you could have all of this if you just could interact better,
Because he does say it earlier in the episode, because he goes, why are you giving these to me? And he's like, because you never had them.
Yeah.
So
and
even when Data's dying, he's showing compassion to his brother to say, you never had these. You had a really bad existence. I am giving you these memories. Obviously, we know there's an ulterior motive to it, but I am giving you these memories because you never had them. Knowing that Law wouldn't erase them, he would store them in himself to experience what Data experienced. Because after all, yes, he is a monumental android dickhead, but he wanted those experiences of love, of reverence, of enjoyment, of being with people and feeling respected and loved, and he never had that, and Data uses that to Law's undoing, because when he returns, like, he gains full control, and then Data says, well, what's happening, and he's like, I knew that you would keep these as trophies. And he said, I use that. You are now me. And I love at the end where, after all, Law knows he's beaten, but he just said goodbye, brother.
Yeah. It's a beautiful send off for Law. And obviously what we see is like Law's not totally gone. Law is now part of Data. So in the Data that we see after this scene, and what we're going to see for the rest of the series, is like an evolution of Data, where it's the fact of he's got access to all of Law's emotions. He's got access to this extra aspect to the personality that he never had before. But like, so Law's not gone necessarily. He's now integrated into this character.
He's made Data more human.
Yeah.
Because with all humans, you take the good and the bad. And Data, you had the good. He never had the bad. There was no malice within Data. So now that he's got that, and he's got the emotion, he's more well-rounded. Because when he comes back,
when he comes back, God, what a good scene this is.
Because they say Data, and he's like, yes, it's me, and we need control of the ship to say no more. And immediately, bang, lights come up, and then we get possibly the greatest line of this series.
Well, is it? Is it what I think it is? Well, it's basically like what. It. Oh, well, no, you say it, because it's Data's line. Data's line to Vadic is brilliant.
Attention, everyone! This is your friendly positronic pissed off security system. And he's like, there has been a shift change, unwanted guests and monologuing protoplasms. And I was like, oh my God.
Monologuing protoplasms is just like.
I was like, I like this Data. This is a good Data.
It's getting the personality of Law in there kind of thing, and it's made Data very funny. Because we got little hints of this when Data had his emotion chip for like an episode. and stuff. Well, wasn't that the first episode with Law, wasn't it? Where we got
Pattern
like a sort of,
generations as
oh,
well.
what if Data was a bit more sort of honest and a bit more sort of like, poetic. But
Yeah,
no, it was absolutely amazing. And then obviously the next thing we get to see is obviously Vadic losing control of the situation, and
because
Jack.
Raffi comes and just literally goes full on Blade with the
Now,
change.
I'm going to be honest. There were two things in this episode, and both of them are related to Worf and Raffi that I wasn't happy about. In terms of, same with the cloaking device, where I was like, how the fuck did they do that? Like,
Yeah,
you're telling me that Raffi, with a blade, can take out like 3 changelings? Because the thing is, we're not really seeing these as changelings. Like, they have not changed at all, really.
no, no.
Like, I wonder if these aren't changelings, like, her crew, like Vadic's crew, because, like, these
Breen,
insect people or whatever, they're not
Breen.
green. They're
They
like,
are Breen.
I don't know what they are.
God damn it.
They're
Well,
like
they
dark
were.
crystal. They remind me of, like, the Never-Ending Story, the big crab things from Never-Ending Story.
Are you saying that they're Skeksis from Dark
No,
Crystal?
no, not Skeksis. I don't know if they have a name, but the big crab things you have in Never-Ending Story. Although, actually, the Skeksis have them as well, don't they? Where they've got these big black crab, like, yeah, servants.
We should call them big crabs.
Big crabs, yeah. They've Vadic's got crabs. Oh no, oh no.
Oh no. Anyway, moving on.
That's
So
how you
yes.
know that the changeling has been evolved, when it can go.
So
that
Raffi and
detailed.
Worf. Obviously, she kicks ass with Raffi, doesn't she? But go on.
Yeah, but it's the idea of, you wouldn't be able to beat changelings if they were actually changelings. They'd be like able to morph around her. The blades wouldn't do anything. I know it's a cool kick-ass scene, but it does feel a bit like, I don't think this would happen. Like, it did feel a bit like, I think I would have preferred her, rather than being with the blade, just standing at the doorway and shooting the fuck out of them. Because what we see is she cuts them and then they fall over, and then later on Worf comes over and finishes them all off with like a phaser. But it does feel very much like, he's a rubbish changeling.
Yeah.
You've seen how a changeling reacts to a blade in DS9, and you're like, it does nothing. This is a useless endeavor.
Yeah. But we go back to the bridge and we find out that the thing that Jack has got in his hands is actually a force field creator. And then
which is great. That's a great twist on it that I wasn't expecting.
And then Data enablizes the emergency evacuation doors on the bridge, and we get possibly the last greatest line of this episode. Please tell me. Please say it, Graeme. Please say it.
Just literally, the door opens. I have always had a wonderful thing for final villain lines. Like, it's one of the things that I would happily. I would urge Paul to do a Nerdy Up North episode about the best ending one-liners for villains, because it's brilliant. Because this is Vadic's ending line, where as the door is opening and she's about to be sucked into space, she's just like, fucking solids. And then sucked out into space. We see her like ice over kind of thing, and then ironically hitting the side of the shrike and smashing into pieces. Where sadly, this will be the end of Vadic. I don't think there's any coming back from this.
What a villain.
Yeah.
And a perfect conclusion, I'd say.
Yeah, perfect conclusion. Like, we've got like her build up, we've got a backstory, we know her character, we feel sorry for her. It's just been, Amanda Plummer has just been, I don't know what awards you can nominate people for a show like this, but I would definitely put Amanda Plummer forward, because this is a villain where I'm sorry to see them go, because I would love to see them in more stuff. But we can't really complain when we've had such a well-rounded character. And for them to get an end that feels right, like it doesn't feel like a shitty end. Like, if someone just came in and shot her, you'd be like, oh, that's a bit boring. This is literally the idea of, she did it. She took over the fucking ship. Like, everything, we've seen ups, we've seen downs. It's, yeah, what an amazing character, what an amazing actress,
I think with
amazing.
much like her father, Christopher Plummer, they will go down in Trek history as one of the all-time great villains, because they had a well-rounded arc. They had an excellent backstory. They were acted perfectly, as far as I'm concerned. Amanda Plummer, one of the all-time great actors that we've had on Star Trek. Excellent last line. I think if this was,
it's the most changeling line in the entire
it is
world.
fucking salads, and I just all the way through her mannerisms, her accent, her behavior, her tone, the way that she carried herself. It was just all sublime. Yes, the way that she died, I think, is also perfect, to be frozen and then shattered by her own ship. I think it's poetic in a way. I can't say much for her crew because, like you said, are these really shit changelings, or can they not change because of whatever things that they've had to them? We don't know. We might see more of them.
I think I would have probably preferred if maybe they were just like, the problem is, are they changelings?
They're breed.
You know, they have been referred to as changelings, haven't they? Because obviously,
They
in
have,
the
yes.
subtitles where they got referred to as changelings, we were like, oh, but then like I think characters have actively said it. But it's just, I think I would have preferred them to be another slave race like the Jem'Hadar or the Vorta. Like, just be like, hey, these are another slave race that work for the Dominion or work for the changelings, rather than like what, you know, being just shit changelings. Because or at least if they were changelings, I would have liked them to have different forms or change their forms or something, or like, because you wonder like how a changeling does it, because the only example we have really is Odo, who has his own form and takes on the form of Bajoran deputy with the hair of the scientist that, like, you know, what's his name? Dr.
Oh, no,
Dr. Dickhead. Yeah, Dr.
Answer in the comments below if you know what the Bajoran.
Yeah, I can't. I'm showing my the whole
850 episodes, guys. Come on.
but then, like, obviously, and then with Vadic, they're basically taking on the persona of their torturer and whatnot. But then it'd be interesting to have changelings and be like, and then the female changeling just keeps this generic form, like. And I assume that it's basically they're trying to mimic Odo. So she's going, hey, I might as well have this form because it puts Odo at rest, because I'm kind of copying the best he can do with humanity. And then that's just what I'll use for humanity rather than being a specific thing. I think it would have been nice to go, what is their default form, or have a changeling character that kept changing and kept being like, oh, I want to be this today. I want to be that. I mean, and bizarrely, random fucking link. I think there's a character in the She-Ra remake, the cartoon She-Ra remake, who's basically like, I've forgotten the character, but they're non-binary because they're like a changeling. But they basically just keep changing their form all the time because they're just like, they can't settle. They're just like, oh well, I'll be this, I'll do this today, kind of thing. And it's like, you wonder if you had to be solid in order to operate a ship, what would you do? And we didn't really explore that. They just turned into these insect bird things, you know.
Imagine hiring and paying so many actors to play one character as a changeling.
Damn it. Up the budget. You may have just pointed out exactly why they didn't do what I was just suggesting.
That would be, God help the casting director at Paramount for like, how many seasons? 20? How many episodes? 26. We have to find 26 actors for what? Oh damn! No, I quit.
No. They're this actor for 20 seconds, and then they change to something else, and then they're a dog, a talking dog. Oh, so we need to animate a talking dog? Yes. And then they're a puddle, you know. Okay, I would be a nightmare as a showrunner, so just putting it there.
However, as a guest star in any Star Trek going forward, he would be absolutely perfect, guys.
Can you imagine me as a guest star? It'd be awful. Actually, to be fair, when me and my friend Kirsty were talking about going to one of the treks, and obviously, like, the only one we have here is Destination Trek in Birmingham, isn't it?
It's in Birmingham this year in August at the Hilton.
But then I kind of saw the price of it and I was like, oh God, oh that's a lot of money. Because you know the thing where it's going, oh, it's like 600 quid for a ticket or something.
However, if you would like me and Science Officer Synoiz as a guest at Destination Trek 2023 at the Birmingham NEC Hilton, please send us a message because we are hardcore Trekkies.
Oh yeah, I would love to be there. It's like the price, because when I was like that involves hotel, that includes the hotel, doesn't it? And it's like nope, you still have to book your Hilton room as well. And you're like,
we are more than happy to represent Nerdy Up North. We are more than happy to reset Nerdy Up North down south. Give us a message, Destination Trek.
But it's that thing, like we were talking about that, and we were talking about who we would actually dress up as, and I really like the idea of going as a Vorta, like doing the ears and doing that and putting hair on, because we've never seen a bald Vorta. You know, I think I'd love to do that. Like
I'm going to go as a dickhead admiral. I'm going to
Just be a
change my
dick to
uniform.
everyone.
I'm going to get the.
Stop what you're doing. I need you to come over here and do this really dangerous thing for me.
I need to find a 25th century uniform. Destination Trek, I'm talking to you. I'm going to find a 25th century uniform. I'm going to dress up as a dickhead admiral, and I will go down to Birmingham, and I will go to every single person I speak to. Sheer fucking hubris. I will do that. Send me a message, Destination Trek. We want to go.
It's this thing. It looks like a wonderful event. I would absolutely love to go, but it's that thing of going, I cannot justify those prices. And well done to the people who can. Like I think they are probably the true fans, the people who are like going, hey, in my life, this is what I'm putting this money towards, kind of thing.
100%. 100%. However, back to the show, they blow the hell out of the Shrike.
Yeah.
Before doing a runner, and we go back to the.
Which is good that they got the data off it before. Like they had that scene with the with Picard's body and stuff, being like, "Oh, let's just pull up that data," and you go, "Okay, cool." So you did a preamble to stealing that stuff but obviously, fuck Picard's remains. Then you they're just gone.
Doesn't need them. Doesn't need them. He's fully positronic.
He's fully functional.
He's fully functional and programmed in multiple techniques. Ladies. But back on the Titan, Deanna senses something dark on the ship, an overwhelming darkness. And I'm like, it's just the ship's lights. Surely the power will come on soon.
Yeah, it's just like, no, it's the IKEA bulbs. I also love that this is a bit of a callback to the meme of Deanna just giving really vague, oh, I sense evil. And you're like, that's not very useful, at all.
I love the exterior shot of the Titan speeding away, which is quite reminiscent. That was a callback to the motion picture where we saw the beautiful shot of the Enterprise with the music, stunning music in this episode yet again. Data learning to feel, like how do you feel? And he just goes, I feel.
Yeah, it was so
pricks
good.
His neck, which I loved. But we get that lovely touching moment between Geordi and Data, where Data's using contractions and a sense of humor about it, and how Geordi is just so glad to have his friend back. Which, viewers of the Next Generation will know just how close Data and Geordi were, because Geordi was a very lonely person in the Next Generation. He was very unlucky in love, unless it was photonic, but. Data was not only his friend, he was his brother. And they took care of one another. So it was really nice to have this. They go back to the observation lounge and we get this lovely touching scene where they're all talking about how they are glad to be with one another, and how Deanna says, because Crushy says, I didn't see any of you for 20 years, but I did miss you. And Deanna says, although I never saw you, I did talk to you in my darkest times and my lightest times. And then Worf just comes out with, many occasions I have considered sending you ahead from time to time, but I was told that was passive aggressive. And I'm just like, oh, I am here for you.
I think it's this thing, and I think it's the wonderful thing of, like, you can have these silly moments when you've earned them, I think, in a series. And I think this pays off, where this is a line that is a bit dumb from Worf. Like, like the idea of sending heads to his enemies, but it's funny and we kind of accept it, like in this wonderful sort of, oh, Klingon culture is weird, which is basically all like Worf is for the first like 3 seasons of like Next Gen, and it's wonderful. And obviously the joy of having all of them around this table now, and all of them being fleshed out, and all of them getting a little moment to kind of express themselves, like as their characters. It's a beautiful round table.
Finally we get them all together.
Yeah, and
finally,
and not early. Like, it's sort of thing. Yes, there's fans being like, "Oh, they've done Marina bad and stuff." It's like, no, it's built up. Like, I feel so happy.
So well. Yeah.
that everyone kind of got their little introduction into it, and then now they're part of it, and now we're here for the finale. We have everyone together, and as we see in the next scene, if we're okay to move on to that, is the idea of
one little
here's
line.
Diana's
Yeah.
place in this.
One little line before we do move on, because obviously they know that something's tied to Frontier Day and directly to Jack.
Yeah.
Deanna says the voice inside him is ancient and weak.
Yeah.
Paris. It's Paris.
But this is the thing, it's this idea, like, we can talk about the Borg, but no one's ever described the Borg as ancient. Like, they are,
Paris.
you know.
It has to be Paris. Come on.
Well, the thing is, okay, I think it's time. Okay, so, well, no, we'll do this after we've talked about the final scene.
We'll go back to the final scene. So Deanna and Jack. So what's going on?
They're talking and shit. No, no, it's really good though. Like, I think this is like a double, a very clever thing that they did, because obviously, like, they're basically having a therapy session where Deanna's sitting down with Jack and basically being like, okay, we're gonna get through this together. You just start unlocking this stuff in your mind, and I'll be there with you and stuff. And it's obviously what she mentioned earlier about, like, oh, there's a door, like, they open that door in terms of grief. Yeah. And I think the problem is that she's kind of mentions the door to him, and he's like, oh, she's like, it's time to open the door. And I think the problem is she's meaning it metaphorically, as in a psychological trait of basically that, whereas for him it's actually more literal. It's actually the red door that Vadic mentioned. It's yeah. And so I think maybe she might not know what she's getting into here, but effectively it's the idea of we're finally, the episode ends with Jack's hand, with Deanna and him standing inside his mind with all the red vines, the red door in the distance. And then it ends with Jack's hand closing around the door handle. So in the next episode, we're going to find out what's behind that door.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
What happens, though, if we go full Silent Hill 2 with this, okay, and he basically opens the door and it's a tiny little Japanese dog in a control room and he's been doing everything? It's just like, it was you, wasn't it? You've been behind everything. And the dog's like, I control the universe. I am the Dominion.
It's kind of the thing, like, we've waited so long.
Hey. Remembering I have my random period poster.
Silent plug. Hey.
Silent plug. No one's ever called me that before.
It's kind of the thing, like, I was hoping that we may get some sort of explanation. I knew we wouldn't get it fully, but just some sort of explanation before the episode ended, and we didn't. So I was like, oh, come on, I have to wait another week to find out. But
this is what my mate was saying with it being a filler thing. But I'm like, well, no, none of this episode was wasted. This is just building a plot over the course of things. And I think it ended. I really thought that it was going to end in the scene before. Like, I thought it was going to end with the round table and not go into the, like, where she goes, it's time for us to find out, like, what's up with Jack. I don't know the exact line. And I thought it was going to end there, but it actually went into the therapy thing and kind of got this far, which was good.
But overall, though, another really solid episode this week. Do you have anything else to add in regards to this week?
Not really. I think I'm quite pleased that we've literally covered everything. We've got all the amazing lines in there. I got to rant about the Raffi fighting changelings. It's no shade to Raffi, but it's, that thing, and just going, we have seen changelings in a fight and we are like, they are terrifying. Like, it's
well, this week, guys,
it's been absolutely, it's an amazing episode. I absolutely loved it. I am so in love with this season.
Well, this week, guys, we did a poll on the Nerdy Up North YouTube page.
And various things. We put it all over the shop. We did on YouTube. We did one on Twitter. We did. I posted one on the Gay Treks group, which is on Gay Trek Nerds, I think it is, on Facebook, and got various responses to that. But yeah.
So we did a poll, basically wanting you guys to tell us, who do you think is the big bad of season 3 of Picard? The choices were the Paris, Species 8472, something else, or Keiko O'Brien. No surprises here, guys. Keiko O'Brien, with 40% of the vote, is the big bad of season 3 of Star Trek Picard. So thank you
Put a
to
silly
everyone.
option on a poll, it will always
It
win.
will always win, but thank you very much. It is confirmed that Keiko O'Brien is the big bad
What
of season 3.
what was next? What was second to Keiko O'Brien?
Par-Wraiths. So
Pirates, okay.
Par-Wraiths is only second to the evil that is Keiko O'Brien.
Yeah.
Because where is O'Brien, everyone? O'Brien would have solved this issue 3 episodes into season 3.
Yeah.
O'Brien is missing. This is why it's
Yeah.
still going on.
But
Free
I think
O'Brien.
this is the thing. And the poll on the Gay Trek Geeks group was the opposite, where Keiko didn't win, but we had lots of other options added, like lieutenant junior grade, like Harry Kim. He's been promoted and he's back for revenge.
Finally, one rank.
Oh, we got
in 30 years.
but on this one, the something else won. The something else had like 56%, and the Par-Wraiths only had about 24. And it was like, oh, okay, so it was pretty divided between them. But yeah, so it was the idea that like they were going, it's not going to be the Par-Wraiths. But I don't know. After seeing this, I'm kind of tempted. Like ancient, something. I mean, maybe it is going to be something else. But I'd love it to be the Par-Wraiths and then have it being more of another conclusion to DS9. Because obviously in DS9, we basically go, hey, they might not be totally defeated. Like, because there might be more of them hanging around. Like, because we don't know that the Wraith that was in Keiko, technically maybe the poll's right then. If the Wraith that was in Keiko is the one, like didn't go to the fire caves or get locked in the fire caves at the end of DS9. So
we will have to wait and see. So, guys, this was our review of episode 8 of Star Trek Picard season 3. I would like to thank my wonderful co-host, Science Officer Synoiz, for joining me this week. We do love to go off in a tangent. What are your theories on who the big bads are in Star Trek Picard? Please put them in the comments below. Give us a like while you are there. The next week is going to be a busy one for Nerdy Up North. We start with our live podcast tomorrow, Sunday, the 9th of April, where we are talking about our favorite Universal monsters.
Are you there? Are you in?
I'm not, but you are.
Okay, I'm in it. I'm not sure because I know it's only me and Sammy that have been like talking about our Universal monsters, so I don't know who the other guests are.
Oh, you will have to wait. It could be Frankenstein. You don't know. But that is 7:30 p.m. UK time, live on the Nerdy Up North YouTube page. Link in the description below as well. You also might be aware that we are doing Nerdfest 2023 in Newcastle upon Tyne on Monday, the 10th of April at the Boiler Shop in Newcastle upon Tyne. We will be there in full Nerdy Up North tradition of degeneracy and humor. I will be walking around the expo convention,
the thing,
shall we say. I will be walking around filming people. I will be doing interviews. So please come and say hello if you do see me. You may get one of these rather fancy Nerdy Up North stickers if you do so. I will also be judging the cosplay competition with my dear friends Sammy, Jake, and Charlotte. So we will be there. I do accept bribes, but they may not work. So please come. It's going to be a great day out for all the family. So come to the Boiler Shop. Then we've got episode 9 of Star Trek and we're Nerdy Up North next Friday, which should go up on Saturday. And then we've got your Twitch stream, which you are going to be physically broken by the end of.
Yeah, it's going to be next Friday and Saturday are going to be hard days, but we will get through them. And I think if there was ever a worthy cause to destroy myself through lack of sleep and playing a lot of video games and talking for a full day, it is what is it for St. Benedict's Hospice, which I will be raising money for. So I can employ you enough. If you're watching this, please join the stream. Please join the stream on Friday. You can go to the links in the description below, synoiz.com/Twitch or thevelvetsnatch.com/Twitch, or twitch.tv/Synoiz.
Everything will be down
it's
there.
In the link.
Everything will be below, guys.
We're hoping to start at 9 p.m. on 9 p.m. next Friday.
That's absolutely wonderful. Guys, please give Nerdy Up North a follow. Wherever you use your social media, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitch, we are on Twitter, we have a Patreon, we have everything. It's all in the description below, guys. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. Graeme, why are you licking?
I'm trying to lick the description. I'm trying to get all the delicious links. I've collected all of the delicious link juice. All of the links are within me.
Please help me. As ever, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff that you're supposed to do. And we will see you next week. So bye-bye.
Bye.